Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What's up, people? Welcome back to the TV Terminal. My name is Adam Vale, senior editor over at the Coalition, and I'm joined by, nobody. That's right. Brother Josh decided to go spend time with Chris Angel in Vegas and figured, hey, that's more important. But wait, what's this? What's this? I see somebody popping up. Oh, no. Could it be? Oh, it is. It's Richard Bailey Jr., senior editor. Well, I should say editor-in-chief of thecoalition.com and from Powercast and the I Am Negan podcast. What's up, Rich? Thanks for joining in.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Adam? What's up, listeners and viewers?
Oh, what's up is right. As I said in the opening, yeah, Josh went, he had to go to a wedding, all this stuff, and didn't wait till last minute to tell me if he could make it or not. He could not. But thankfully, Rich is here to save the day. But let me just give some real heads up for everybody. Rich has played the game, both of them, 1 and 2. But when it comes to this show, the only episode he's watched is this episode 7. So that's what's going on. So if you hear anything and you start commenting, oh, what they did, this is just full disclosure. But he did play the game. And as Josh and I have mentioned, this show, especially this season, it's almost scene for scene from the game, which is good and bad. You know, you want something new so you can compare and do that type of thing. But then it's so close to the source material. How do you feel about shows that do that, Rich?
Well, when they advertised and say they were going to change some things, I mean, I did see some clips from the season. Yeah, they did give Joel a therapist. That definitely was not in the game. So they made a couple of changes, very minimal changes, but the main point of what happens remains the same. So, hey, I guess they just want to stay close to the source material. I'm okay with it, but
You're right.
We'll see.
You're right. That's one thing. Definitely, we're okay with source material. That's a big deal. Another show that Lawrence and I have been covering, Murder Bot. That's based off of a bunch of books that we have not read, but people are jumping to the comments all the time, and they're like, "Yeah, this is okay. It's there. They changed some things, but it doesn't hamper the source material too much, and that's the goal, right? I mean, we talk about it because we also do I Am Negan, the Walking Dead podcast. That's over on the Coalition. You can check that out. We've been doing it since 1984. A very long time. Yeah, right? I mean, shoot, man.
Yeah.
You had dreads. You know, I had all this crazy. I still have a lot of crazy hair. But yeah, we've been doing it a long time. But one thing that we always talk about is that when it came to Mothership, the only piece that the show really introduced was Daryl. Right, everything was from the comics. They were going based on the comics, and the wild card was Daryl. So when it comes to The Last of Us for this, we didn't have that. You sort of mentioned it with Gail, the therapist, and then she complained. She said the whole thing about Eugene, but then Eugene, you didn't see it, but he popped up for the first time last episode, and we see that he was part of the group. He got bit. Joel put him down. And that's where the conflict between Gail and Joel comes up. It's like, you shot him because he didn't turn, he didn't get fully infected. He wanted to go back, but then Ellie just spilled the beans and was like, no, that's not true, because she's all bitter about some issues that she's having with him. But yeah, well, anyway, the point that I'm getting at, people, so like, why is he rambling about this, is that we do not see a Daryl being cut into this. Now, we know Druckmann had said he wants to continue. He's the creator of the IP, right, with the Naughty Dog and writer of the story and all that stuff. He is working closely with HBO, and they have plans to go forward. As we all know, there is a season 3. No surprise there. Is there a game 3? No. But as we just saw and we'll discuss, The way this episode ends is not the way the game ends. This was the turning point. If we were back in the days of PlayStation 2, this would be the point where you pop out and change discs. Remember that for Resident Evil that had
Oh
multiple
yeah.
discs? That this would be that point, or a Final Fantasy, because man, that game was long and a lot of people would have preferred it just end at a certain point. But what we're about to get and what we'll get into, and when we start discussing what we can possibly see for season 3, oh, man, go ahead and leave in the comments if you are even interested at all in what they're having to offer for season 3, because that was a big issue with people that played the game of what they were forced for the last 5-6 hours of that game to play, when they were like, nah, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But hey, and then here we go with the show, and they didn't change anything. They didn't change anything. All right, so let's just jump into it. Full disclosure, people, I did put my slides and I dumped them into my PowerPoint, and some of them got a little screwy. So it's a little bit off whack. So I'm going to flicker back and forth and try to get to the points that make sense to what we're talking about, because they got all mumble jumbled. But let's just bring this one up here, because this is a key one. Right, because this is our boy Jesse. Jesse plays such a major role in this episode, and of course, in the remainder of what happens in the Last of Us for this one, because it's a big part of it. All right, so let's just get into it. I'll just tell you right now, right off the bat, the best part of this episode, Rich, for me, was the end credits, the song "Burden in My Hand" by Soundgarden. I'm a big Soundgarden fan, and when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is the highlight for me. Which makes sense. They're from Seattle. The song, I get the tie-in, but still, that was R.I.P. Chris Cornell. He died many years ago. Really sad, really sad. All right, anyway, here we go. It starts off back at the theater, and then we see Dina, and she's got that leg wound. So in the last episode, just like, that's one change actually, Rich, in the game. Remember that part where Ellie's in the park and the scars are there doing their whistling and all that stuff, and trying to attack her? Well, in this one, Dina tags along. She doesn't stay at the theater, but she gets shot in the leg. And when she got shot in the leg, just so happens after that whole thing, Jesse shows up, takes her back to the theater. So that's another little twist, but it's like a go around, because it's still the same result. Dina stays at the theater. So I get why they did this, because what we'll get into now is that we have Jesse there with Dina. He's trying to calm her down, try to take care of her wound. He offers her some liquor. She refuses. He makes a face. We find out why later on, but he's trying to be there for her through this whole thing, But then Ellie shows up, and she's like, what's going on? Is she okay? She's sleeping. This is for Dina. We'll take care of it. But right off the bat, jumping into this, what do you think so far, just from the lighting, the set design, and all this? How are you feeling when you tuned in for watching this season? What do you think?
Well, I think everything looks good, just like I remember in the game. So they did a phenomenal job with the set design. The theater looks good, and of course, the outside setting. Everything that they did with this show, it looked good. I remember from season 1, when we covered season 1, it looked phenomenal. I could tell they spent a lot of money on the budget. So, I think it looks great.
Yeah, the budget is definitely a key here, because that was the question that I had with all this. It's just like, how far are they going to go with it? And man, do we see it? Because once they finished doing this whole little scene, Dina wakes up, and this was a cool moment, because Ellie just comes clean about the whole situation. It's like, hey, this is what happened. This is why Abby's after. Why Abby killed Joel, while we're having all these problems. And it's the recap of the end of season 1: Firefly, the hospital, the shooting, the killing. Joel killed them all just for her. Now at this point, Dina already knows that Ellie is immune, because of the whole thing that happened where she saw Ellie get bit, if you remember from the game, in the turnstile, that whole subway station. Yep, that whole thing. So comes clean, that whole thing. So she's not surprised by that, but you can see on her face she's still a little taken back, like, man, he did all that. And she knew. And that's one thing that Ellie just lets her know, it's like, and I knew this. I knew that he did all this to take care of me because he knew that if he didn't, I was going to die. But then again, there could have been a cure. We could be all, well, you guys, because she would have been dead, but everyone could be living a better life. And one of the things that Josh and I, and I'll ask you this question, at no point did they say it was a guarantee that going into Ellie's brain and to get the tissue and do the whole sampling, that it was a definite cure, right? They never said that. And that was the whole issue with Joel, because when he had talked to, I forgot her name, blanking on it, you can leave in the comments if you remember, but the Firefly contact that he had that started the whole season 1, bringing Ellie to the Firefly for the hospital, all that stuff. She even said, she's like, nothing's for sure, but what is for sure is that once they do this operation, Ellie will die. So do you think that it was 100% sure that they were going to make a cure if they would have did the surgery on Ellie?
Well, according to Neil Druckmann, who made a statement about a day or so ago, yeah, they're saying they could have made a cure. So obviously, I think that was said now because they want to generate more interest in the show, the games, so on and so forth. And they're really trying to hammer home the fact that Joel is a villain in this particular instance about what he did, even though in the first game we saw, I think we all felt what Joel felt and we agreed with the decision he made, but obviously they want you to know it wasn't the right decision and we want you to feel that. So, because they want you to understand Abby's point of view. That's the whole point of what they're going to be trying to tackle in season 3. But to answer the question, yeah, they confirmed. Yes, there could have been a cure.
Did. So they did.
Yeah, he did. That's what he confirmed. He confirmed that, and he did. He had a quote and everything. It's about a day or two ago. So,
well, all right. Well, if that's the case, then we would have no story. Right, it would be case closed. There you go, The Last of Us. And you know what? Hey, this is one of those things that people argue about all the time. Did the game need a second game? Right, many people, our good friend my cousin Manny would say no. He was like, hey, the first one should have just ended that way. That was it. Hey, he saved her, case closed. Because think about it, now there's no cure, there's no doctor to make the cure. Apparently, this is the only doctor in the world that could have done this, and he is now dead. So if that's the case, then yeah, just end it. And that was a great pause at that moment when she asked him the whole thing. Is there, and now Joel was like, "Yep, this is it. We're good. Let's go." Nope, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do the cure. But then we get this. So the big question was, did we need this? Did we need it? And the argument now, and that's what's going to happen to the viewers that have not played the game, they're going to ask the same question, because this whole thing with Abby, I don't know if the show is doing, and the game couldn't even do it. People were just really against Abby. I don't know if this show can convey Abby as someone that we want to back. Yes, we know the sadness. This is retribution. You killed your father. That was horrible. But people are more invested with Joel. They spent the whole game playing as Joel and saving Ellie. And to then take that away and like flip it. And it's like, all right, now feel how the other half feel about this. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if this is enough. What do you think?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know if it's enough. What I will say is the actress that plays Abby, I mean, she's actually very likable. I've seen her in a couple of movies. I think she's pretty good. So this is definitely a different Abby than what's in the game. The Abby in the game is a lot more muscular built because she is.
She's jacked. She's jacked.
And I think that's another thing people are like, oh, I guess they didn't like that too much. But I do want to make a comment, though, to ask the question about, was it necessary for them to make a second game? You can make the argument that it wasn't necessary, but the second game that has to be one of their best games in terms of a gameplay standpoint, because that was just, it's very good. Yes, obviously, it's dealing with some very dark themes. The story might not be for everybody. There's some people that didn't like what happened to Joel, but nobody can argue and say that gameplay is horrible. That gameplay is very ambitious, fantastic. But we'll see.
Yep. And
Yeah.
what's also fantastic, and we just brought this up, is man, the set design. The set design on this show, just the layout.
Mhm.
Like once we get into it, it's this day 3, right? Because there's a little more the talking back and forth. Dina just accepts. The next day, she gives her a bracelet for good luck, and she's like, "Oh, you have any luck? Yeah, well, I'm still alive." And does Dina? I was like, "Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you got some luck." So the goal now is for Jesse and Ellie to go meet up with Tommy over at a rendezvous point, which is a bookstore. Right. Once they meet up, then they're going to head back, pick up Dina, and then go back to Jackson. That's it. Case closed. They're not going after Abby because one of the things that we find out here right before they leave, Ellie and Jesse leave, is that she took care of Nora. Well, by leaving Nora alive to die as she's infected. That was an option in the game. I did not let her turn. I just killed her. Because remember, that was an option. They were like, yeah, you could leave her. You could, it's up to you. And you had a few moments like that. But no, I just killed her. But she did say something about the whale. And that in her dying words when Ellie was asking questions about where is Abby. But the agreement is Jesse, and Ellie going out to the rendezvous point. But man, this set design, that's what I wrote down here. So cool. Because once they leave, it's daylight, it's raining. You get that nice stretch of just the open road. You see all the dilapidated cars and buildings. And it's just, it brought back memories of the Division. Division 1, especially.
Oh, yeah.
Just that feel. Man, I just something about it just gets me. But they're walking through, they're having a conversation. This is also a moment where we're finding more out with Jesse because he's like, I need to know the truth. What's going on with Dina? And she was like, oh, well, what do you mean? What's going on? And then that's when he goes back to offering her liquor. He's like, she never turned down liquor. And now she's turning it down. So what is happening? Is she pregnant? And I was like, oh, well, the pregnancy, it was something to that effect. And he was just spitballing. But I think not really, because he must have known. And so he was like, well, now I know. And now since I'm going to be a father, I have to watch out for myself. And he's still upset that they're doing all of this because of this whole journey. It's because this was Ellie wanting to go out and find Abby. And that's not something they wanted to do. So they put everybody's life at risk with all this. Do you think Jesse would be a good dad?
Well, unfortunately, we're not going to find out that information. Yeah, I think that relationship would be quite complicated. However, he obviously, Ellie is now Dina's love interest, so they will have to co-parent. I don't know anything about co-parenting, but I would say it's a bit complicated. But yeah, Jesse probably would have been a good dad. I would say.
You see, you're already saying it in the past tense because and people are like, no, and you know what? I'm assuming, hopefully, because it says in the title, recap and review, and that people have watched it and just want to hear a different perspective. And in the game, he does pass, but we don't see that here. So maybe that does change. Maybe they make a little tweak and they leave him, to be. But either way, they're on the road, heavy rain. It's pouring. It's Seattle. No surprise, right? You've been to Seattle. You've been through that.
Oh, yeah.
They're going through. So they head off the road. They go into the bookstore. They make it. Well, no, sorry, my bad. They don't. They actually get into one of the building structures because while they're just navigating through, they hear gunshots. They assume that they've been spotted by the wolves. We can't say the Scars because the Scars don't use guns. They use arrows and knives, that whole primitive, keep it to the roots. Shout out to Sepultura. So then they go into a building. They take cover. We see that there is a Scar that runs in. He's hiding. The wolves go in after him. And he's a young kid. And they take him out. And Ellie wants to help. She wants to go and help. And Jesse's like, no. You stay back. We can't do this. There's like 6 of them, 2 of us. We can't. They drag the guy out. Who knows what they do to him. But Ellie then gets up again. She wants to go out. And he's like, you got to stop. And then they get into this whole conflict about like the group and who they should be fighting for, and it just Jesse's upset of this whole process because he's like, man, we came out here for you because you went to do something reckless, and now you're putting everybody's life at risk. Look at Dina and all this stuff. But I don't know if you were in that spot. Let's say this was a part of the game, because this part I was not. But let's say if this was, but because it's, you know what, it's weird. This was in the game, but not this scenario with the scar and the shooting. But remember, we had to navigate this whole thing with Jesse.
Yeah.
Would you have made this decision? You're playing. If this was one of those until dawn moments, do you go help or do you stay back with Jesse? Do you stay with Jesse? Do you think that makes sense? Not to get involved?
Well, if I was playing as Jesse, and I know that I have a kid on the way, I'm going home. I'm not going to continue to stay involved in this situation with Ellie. But in a game, yeah, I mean, Ellie pretty much is killing people left and right in the game. So yeah, they probably would have, the majority of players would have gotten involved and tried to take those other characters out.
Yeah, I mean, a game is a game, people. We always talk about it over on Throwdown. Most of the protagonists are serial killers. You know, it's like if you do the body count of how many people not infected, people that Ellie has killed in a slow death, and Joel, as we just heard earlier on, it's a lot. It's a lot. Great game, Uncharted, Nathan Drake, mass killer here. This guy just runs around hosing tons of people down, asks no questions, just gets the job done, and then he's all happy and lives a normal life with his wife and kid. So, hey, it is what it is. But we jump over to Isaac. Now, do you recognize Isaac? Because I know you haven't been watching the season. He's new to the season. Do you recognize the actor?
Oh, yeah, everybody knows the actor.
Oh, yeah? Who is he? Who is he, Rich?
Jeffrey Wright.
There you go. Now,
yeah,
we know him from almost everything, right? I know him from and I just blanked on it. Like, I know it from everything. What you call not Waterworld. Oh my god. Why am I blanking it? The other HBO show. I can't
Westworld.
Westworld. There you go.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why I blanked on. Know him from that. He's done narration for What If, the Marvel show. Yeah. But he's also been in a bunch of other shows. I mean, he's a fantastic actor. And to see him in this role, you didn't see it here, Rich, but when he first appears, the dude is jacked. Like, I've never seen him in that light. I was like, whoa, is this AI? Or is this really? I mean, he was like definitely beefed up for this role. But he is the commanding officer of the Wolves. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why we see that scene where he's there with another officer. And they're back at the base operations, and he's just trying to get a rundown. What's going on? You know, he's like, all right, have we heard from Abby? No, we haven't heard from Abby. We haven't heard from Owen and Mel. If you remember, Owen is the ex-boyfriend of Abby, who then finds the aquarium and that whole thing, and Mel. So all three are missing. Isaac is suspicious of the whole thing. He's like, oh, the whole crew is missing. Something's up. He's like, and then she was like, well, there's other people that work here. You know, why is it all about Abby? I mean, we got Manny, and he's like, oh, we got plenty of Mannys, but there's only one Abby. And she's like, whoa. Well, wait, what are you trying to say there? It's like, do you love her? Do you have something for her? And that would have been a good twist, right? That would have been a good twist, just to say, yes, I do. And I want to get her hand in marriage. Along with my other two wives. Oh, and we get a sister wife situation. Really twist this show up. But no, that doesn't happen. He just basically says that tomorrow isn't guaranteed for anyone. And they're getting ready to go to war. They're dealing with all this stuff. I'm still not sold. You didn't see it, but they have tanks and tons of soldiers. They're wandering the streets, like patrolling, but really getting set to go to war. And as we know with the scars do not have weaponry of that type. They don't use those type of things. They're all about hand to hand and setting up traps and bow and arrows, those type of things. They do the whistles, you know, to communicate with each other. I'm just thrown off by this, but either way, he says they're going to war. It's not guaranteed. And the reason why he wants Abby is because he sees Abby as the next in command. If he passes, Abby has to take control. Mm-hmm. You know, and the soldier that's there, I'm blinking on her name, but she's taken back by that. And I guess because I keep thinking about it. They don't really show anyone else, and even the game didn't, of who else was like in a hierarchy of command and different levels. So I guess that makes sense. But then that's it, right? Cut that. We don't see Jeffrey again. We don't, Isaac. He doesn't pop up again. It's just done. But how do you feel about seeing him in this role? I mean, for somebody who knows his work and stuff, and to see him as a commanding military officer of this type, well,
Oh no, I think he's a great actor. So yeah, I think the role fit. That was a good choice putting him in this role. No doubt. He plays a lot of different roles, so I think this was a very good natural fit.
yeah, I got all. See, sorry, people, if you're looking at this and you're like, "Oh, what's with these slides? It's like all screwy." Oh man, it's all screwy. But we'll just. Which one is this one up? It's just one of Abby. Of Ellie. We'll just bring this one up. But anyway, they get to the bookstore, right? We jump back to Jesse and Abby back at the bookstore. They're getting there. There is no Tommy. Tommy's not there. Jesse barricades the door, and he was like, "All right, well, this is what we have to do. We're just going to sit here and wait for Tommy and just figure things out." This is where they start discussing about life and all the choices that they've made and things that are happening. And oh man, just while we're going off of this, I don't know how I feel about. I don't know when it comes to reflecting on if they're good people or not, because that comes up in this moment when they hear gunshots going off. But then at the same time, Abby takes a look at binoculars, and then she can see off in the distance the aquarium. So she has her idea and her goal of like, well, I have to get to Abby. But then Jesse, he's focused more on getting Tommy. This also popped up in the game, right? Here's that choice.
Mhm.
What do you do? And then it comes up back and forth of like, who's a good person, who's part of your group. Then Ellie makes a comment about like, well, I saw the person from my group get his head bashed in. But you have to understand, this is Tommy. If we're assuming that's Tommy, because that's the thing, we don't know. But we hear gunfire, and that tells me right there, if I hear gunfire from both ends, then it has to be Tommy, because the Scars don't use guns. So I mean, if there was a choice here, and then the game did not give the choice, you just go off to aquarium. I think I would have stayed to help Tommy out. Like, what about you? Would you have stayed to help Tommy?
Oh, what, as Jesse?
Well, as Ellie, because remember, Ellie's like wants to leave, and then this is where the whole thing talks. They start talking about also the mission. So this part, I guess, this was also something. Now I'm thinking,
Well, yeah, I absolutely would have stayed and helped out Tommy. I mean, because again, Ellie is the reason why they're out there in the first place. So they should try to regroup, get everybody back together again, and go back home. So I definitely would have did that. But again, Ellie is focused on Abby in the aquarium, so she's only thinking selfishly about getting revenge. She's not worried about whatever happens to everybody else, even though she says she does care.
Yeah. Carrying around that book that she found was a monster is at the end of this book, and I was like, you're right, there is a monster at the end of this book, so. But one of the other things, because this is different, there were little tweaks here and there, but like I said, the story arc is pretty much the same. But when it comes to going out on this mission, this rescue mission, remember originally it was Tommy that left, right? And then Ellie went out afterwards. Well, in the show, that is not the case. It was Ellie and Dina. Tommy stayed back because there was other issues going on. They had a council vote, right? What's it there? What they call a council? Anyway, the community leaders, Maria is in charge of this, which is Tommy's wife, and they had a vote, and Jesse is part of the panel. So she throws the comment of like, you know what, if three other people would have voted yes, like you did, then we wouldn't have had this issue and we could have all come out here in full force. And he said no, that he voted no. And that was something Josh and I had both suspected, that she put too much emphasis of like, oh, we're friends and he's going to help me out. And he knows how, because Ellie wanted the whole crew to go in full force to get retribution, to take down Abby, because what if they come back? They didn't really know their motives for killing Joel. And so they had to be, the group had to vote on it, the higher ups, and they voted against it. And she assumed that Jesse was on our side, but we find out here, no, he had voted no. He did not want to do it, and he feels that she always thinks about herself, which doesn't make much sense here because this is not thinking about herself running across the United States to go kill someone. Yes, it impacts her, but she doesn't have to do this. And whatever, throws that in. But then he says, you know what? All right, fine. You do you. I'm going to go help Tommy. And then she takes off. This was a great scene callback to the game also, because if you remember, there was a lot of action in this part. And I was even wondering how, if they did get to that point in the show, how they were going to portray that. Because you spend a lot of time sneaking through the buildings, going underwater, swimming around. Remember, sneaking around, trying to get to the boat, right? You're doing all this stealth takedown, a lot of that. There was a lot of soldiers, a lot of wolves were here. In fact, was it wolves? No, I think they were more scars. They were a mixture of wolves and scars. It was a long segment, but it's like a blink of an eye here because we see one patrolling group of a bunch of cars. Then she sneaks past them, and then she gets into a boat. She revs it up, and off she goes. I was hoping she was going to have trouble with turning on the motor. Because you remember in the game, you had to do it like 3 times. You had to pull it, and it was like the little mini game, and then you had to press triangle again. If you messed up, it stopped. And I know some people are like, well, what does that matter? It matters because if you didn't take out all the soldiers that were in the area, they could hear this. And then they would come over, and then that could disrupt everything, which it happened to me a few times. And then you would have to stop, take cover, fight, shoot, whatever. The second playthrough, when I did the remastered one, I just killed everybody. I killed everybody, so that way I had a nice, easy path to the boat, because I was like, I'm not dealing with this stealth. I can't do the Metal Gear. I'm not Manny. I don't have the patience, So I just took everybody out. But anyway, she gets on the boat. She goes sailing down, and that's where, if I remember, I have all the images because they all got jumbled up. Sorry, people. Sorry. But let's just get to it. It was right over here. And this is not going. Wrong one. See, there we go. But anyway, there we go. This one. So when she's going down the river there, it turns into the rapids in a way. And now I wasn't sure if that was because of debris and things in the water, but either way, it tips over. She runs aground. Okay, this is it. But this is something we talked about before we started recording. This was different. This was a different scene. But our question here, and people go ahead in the comments if you think, was it needed? Was it needed, and what was the purpose? Because she runs aground. We see that some scars pick her up. They bring her back to camp. They have a campfire. They string her up. They're getting ready just to hang her. Why with the theatrics? We just saw this covering Dead City, right? Another hanging, Rich. What is up with the hanging? Right. So they bring her over to the group. She's like, I'm not a wolf. I'm not a wolf. And they just don't listen. And they pull her up, and she's hanging. And it looks like, oh no, she's going to die. Not really. Come on now, right? Not at this point. If that's the case, then the show is over. Hey, we still got 30 minutes. No, this is not happening. And sure enough, they hear gunfire off in the distance. They're like, all right, forget her. We don't got time for this. They let go of the rope. She drops, and then they take off. So she just runs back to the waterfront area. She finds her boat, and she takes off again. So the question for you, Rich, and for the listeners and the viewers out there, what was the point of this scene? Why add this? Because it didn't really contribute to the overarching story. What was the point? You have an answer for this?
I can only think that they're going to explore more of these characters in season 3. We do know about stuff that happens with Abby, so on and so forth. So I'm assuming we're going to see some of those characters show up once again. But I don't know. I guess that was just to give you a look at what's ahead. I really don't know what the point was other than that.
Yeah, and that's the issue here. It's like we always talk about it on the other show that we covered of filler, right? A lot of shows do that. They add filler, whether it's filler with dialogue or other scenes of side characters, and you're like, oh, is this going to materialize as something important? No, it doesn't, but they just had to fill it. This didn't really deliver anything. Unless there was something that I missed. If I did, if Rich and I did, then go ahead, leave in the comments. What did we miss? We know that there was one person in a robe. It was a young girl, boy, whatever was in a robe, and that was who Ellie was looking at. I was like, tell them, right? But what was besides that, it didn't really go anywhere. But anyway, she goes sailing down the river over here, and then she finds the aquarium. Right, it's dark, it's gloomy, but she gets there. She breaks in. She starts sneaking around. Again, I wrote down in my notes, very cool sets. I love the camera work on this show. Doing the nice long draw distance shots. It's like she comes in from the front door, cameras all the way in the back. So you have the long shot. You see the flashlight reflecting off the walls. It's beautiful with the audio work, the sound effects. You hear the water dripping off into the corner. I'm listening with my headset on, and then I can hear it from the left. And as she's moving around, it moves over to the right. They put in so much time in the production of this show. I hope people appreciate that, because there's going to be those who don't watch the show at all. They're like, I don't like zombies, infected. Come on now, it's just rah, rah, and then it's over. No, there's more to it, and besides just a story. And man, this is quality. If people want to see a show that has money involved, and not I'm just talking about flashy cars and big, oh wow, they went to New York and they had to rent out these big hotels and stuff like that. Yeah, for the movie shot. No, but this here, with the set design, the lighting, just the camera work, the audio, this feels like quality. And I can say that definitely comparing it to another show that we covered, Dead City, which made it seem like they were going in that direction, but spent most of their time running around Central Park. So, oh man, I'd say there you go. Just go off on this. It just bothers me. But this leads to a big point, a big part of the story here, because she walks in. This is Ellie. She walks into the room hearing Owen talking to Mel about the plans, about going to help Abby, right? They're going to go help Abby out. Abby's got her own agenda. Mel doesn't want to do that. Mel wants to just take off. Let's just stop doing all this stuff. We see now this comes back. I don't know what kind of gun. I blanked on it. I wrote it down here. I think it was a 9mm, but there was at some point before early on when Ellie was getting ready and she needed ammo, and she asked Jesse for ammo, and he gave her some ammo. And this comes up again because then she loads up her gun and she points it at him, and instantly Owen remembers her, recognizes her. It's like, I know you. And he's like, you remember me? And she's like, yeah, I remember you. It's like, well, tell me where Abby is. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do it. Well, what do you mean you can't do that? I just heard you talking about her. You know where she is. And it's like, oh, and she plays the Joel game. Remember the Joel matching game? And it's like, you point right to a spot, and then you point to a spot, and if it matches, then you're good. And so Mel is like, yeah, just do it. And Owen's like, no, I'm not doing it, because then she's just gonna shoot us anyway. And she's like, no, I'm not like you. I don't know about that, because it's like, well, he's not like that either, because he could have killed you too. He killed Joel. He could have took you out if that was the case, but he didn't. So I don't know if that line makes much sense. He didn't even kill Dina. See, that's the other thing, Rich. Dina was present also. It wasn't Tommy. It was Dina in the show. But they put her under. They gave her a shot to knock her out so she wouldn't have to witness the horrific beating that they put on Joel. And then Ellie shows up on the horse, just like in the game, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So anyway, didn't know what to do. They're freaking out. And then no one was like, all right. So he goes and he's looking at the map. And then he goes to grab something that's on the table. What was it that he grabbed? I don't know what that. I didn't read anything in my notes. I wasn't sure what it was. It wasn't a weapon. I wasn't sure if it was like a pan or something.
No, he did grab a gun.
Oh, there was a gun?
Yeah, it was the map. That's why she shot him.
Yeah, no.
Grabbed the gun.
Oh, okay. I knew she shot at him, but I wasn't sure, because I guess I was focused on Mel, because I thought Mel was going to sneak something, and then it happened so quick that she shot him. But man, I guess because of the range, so close, the bullet went right through Owen and then right into Mel. So there you go. Owen is dead. Mel is down. Ellie is all distraught over this, because this was not her intent. She starts crying. She's freaking out. It's especially when it comes to Mel. Now, Mel was present when all this happened with Joel. So I'm a little shocked by this reaction from from Ellie with all this. I get it. She's not a killer. That's what she keeps pushing. She's not a killer. She's just out for revenge with Abby. But you had Owen just try to pull a gun. And so, like you said, you got to do what you got to do. Now, this was a casualty of it with Mel going down. Mel is a doctor. She says she's going to walk her through the whole process. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, unless she was going to grab the knife from Ellie and then just pull out a bullet of her, within herself and pull like a Arnold Schwarzenegger type of thing, like I could do it myself, No, it wasn't going to happen. And sure enough, she just dies. It just ends, it's sad. But hey, it is what it is. And you know what? Go ahead.
One correction. That was not in the game.
No.
The whole thing about her, no, because she was talking about taking the baby out because she's pregnant. That's why Ellie was distraught. We know that is in the game. The same thing about the Mel being pregnant. But the whole thing about her asking to cut the baby out, that is not in the game. That specifically was put into the show.
Yeah, you're right. That was not in it. Yeah. But what happens, what follows afterwards with Tommy and Jesse showing up. So then there we go. That answers that question of the gunfire off in the distance. Jesse was right. It was Tommy, and Tommy definitely needed his help. And they were able to fight their way out of it. So they're like, all right, come on, let's go. We're headed back. They get back to the theater, right? Everybody's good. It seems that way. We get one-on-one time again with Jesse. And for those who don't know, there's a lot of Jesse. And I feel like this happens in a lot of shows when a certain character who gets some screen time all of a sudden gets a lot of screen time in one episode. That's usually a bad sign, right? It's like, get ready to say your goodbyes, But that does apply here in a way. Even if you didn't know, you sort of feel like something's going on. Because he starts talking about life and things that he wants to do, and his loyalty to Jackson and how it should be the one to take over for Maria. But then he says some more, and I'm pretty sure this is not in the game. Is that he doesn't feel the same for Dina like Ellie does, because he talks about some traders that came to town to Jackson. And they brought over some supplies, some paintings. And there was this one woman that was there, a little older than him, had a bunch of paintings. They were all horrible. They weren't good, but he bought a bunch, because he liked her. And they hit it off. He said that was the best 2 weeks of his life. She said, come on, let's go. Let's go. Come with us. You could, we'll live a life with my family. And he said he couldn't do it. He put Jackson ahead of his own wants and needs in life because he's loyal. And that's I guess I can respect that, but then at the same time, I'm like, what are you saying? Was Dina just like a one night thing? Because according to the story in the game and in the show, they were on and off for a while. That was there was that relationship. Everybody knows that couple. You're a viewer, listener, you're probably in that type of relationship right now. That is something very relatable, and that's what we get from here. Is that Jesse doesn't really feel that way, which sets up in a way is just saying, I'm not going to stand in the way, whatever you guys do going forward with the child. He's going to be there, no doubt. That's his plan, at least, to be there. But if they want to take it further, he's not going to step in and be like, no. This is my baby. I'm the daddy. She's marrying me. We're closing this down. No, that's not his goal. So the way he describes this whole situation here sort of implies like, hey, I'm just going to get up and go once we get back. Maybe head out, take off, go find that girl, go to find the trader, see whatever they're at, and who knows. And what happens if he did? There's a spinoff right there. He shows up. He's like, hey, I'm here. Let's do this. She's like, I'm sorry. My parents already married me off to Jeremiah over here in this village. And yeah, thanks for coming, but you're too late. Too late. My bad. Snooze, you lose. We have many options out here, the apocalypse and all. Take what you can get, so. Anyway, off in the distance, we hear some gunshots. Not too far distance because they're all in the theater. They go running. Jesse goes in. Body falls. Ellie follows. Sees Jesse on the ground. Sees it's Abby. Abby looks shocked. I don't know who was more shocked. If Ellie was shocked or Abby was shocked. Who do you think was more shocked?
Well, I don't understand why Abby would be shocked. I mean, you let her live. Who else do you think would have killed Owen and Mel? I mean, she was there. She was there and she saw them. So, but yeah, it's because she had gave her a chance. She let her live. That's why she was angry and shocked. That's just like how it is in the game as well. So that's
Oh, no,
exactly the same.
yeah, she was like, "You killed my friends. You killed my friends." And she was like, "I'm sorry about. I just wanted to get to you, and they're innocent. They have nothing to do with this. It's me. It's all me. Joel killed everybody and your dad. I know he killed them all because of me." She spills everything. This episode was spilled everything over to Dina about it, and then now she's spilling everything over to Abby about it. She was like, "It's all me. My bad. This is just it's me." And she just said that I let you live. I gave you a chance, and this is what you do with it. And then a gunshot goes off, fade to black, and then poof, we're done. Now we see Abby wake up. She's reading a book back at her base. Clearly, this is a flashback. So she gets up, we see her walk out, and then that's where we see the stadium, the big stadium setup that they have for the Wolves. Beautiful set again, man. You see, these are the sets that I would have loved to see in The Walking Dead, right? I would have loved to see Alexandria look like this. I would have loved to see the Commonwealth, when they talked about how they have a football stadium and all this stuff. I would have loved to see that, right? To see like the governor in the middle say, "Hey, I have to give a speech," and then just see all these, CGI people up in the stands of the stadium. Oh man, if The Walking Dead on AMC had the budget, it would have been amazing. Would have been amazing, at least going forward in the spin-offs, all this stuff. But anyway, I digress. I go on this thing, man. But there goes the shot. I mean, sorry, with the meaning the shot of the beautiful scenery, fantastic. And then at the bottom corner it says Seattle, day 1. Dun dun dun. Roll the credits, play Soundgarden, let's go. All right. People are gonna be mad. I think a lot of people are gonna be mad. That's just my thoughts, and it's because from the casuals, I do know some casuals that watch this show, and they really relate to Ellie. Definitely with Joel just because it's Pedro Pascal. Mainly it was like, oh, he's a great actor. He always plays a good guy in all these movies. Oh man, I feel so bad for him. And the way our minds are trained that if there's a character we like and a character dies, and whoever did that is automatically the villain, right? That's just how things work. We all the way back to spaghetti westerns. That's it. You killed this. This is a vengeance story. But when a show does something like this, where they now flip the script, and I'll stay now. Let's just jump into it. It's like our thoughts of what to expect from season 3 is pretty much what we got in the second half of The Last of Us 2, the game, which was another 6 hours or so of just Abby's journey through the days leading up to that moment at the theater. Right, Rich?
Yeah, that's exactly what we can expect. That's possibly how. I mean, I heard them say they had a statement recently where they're saying, "Hey, maybe this can go to another season after season 3."
Oh no, no, don't do that.
Oh, well, I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case. But they are adamant that, and I think they are going to get a couple more episodes in season 3 than in this season. So they should be able to finish this story with season 3. I don't think they need a season 4, but yeah, at some point it will end. Her story will end with, it will get caught up to when she went into the theater, and then they will need to continue with what happened after that with her in Ellie.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering with all this. Again, it's very iffy with the ratings. We know on certain metrics, The Last of Us, the show, is up there with Andor and actually Handmaid's Tale. I still watch that. This is the final season. Shout out to Steve Farley over on YouTube. He still covers it. One of the few still doing it. The guy goes in full character. It's amazing. He's awesome. Go follow him. But yeah, to see that those are the top 3 according to online metrics, when it comes to engagement, I'm like, okay, well, is that for good or bad that The Last of Us is up there? Are people just curious of like, wait, is this really what's going to happen? Because I don't, from the other casuals I talk to, they can't imagine a show flipping it where they focus heavily on the quote unquote bad guy and their perspective of how things play out. But as we just saw here in this final scene, when it said Seattle day one, they are rewinding the clock and they are telling us, no, this is exactly what's happening. We are now going to tell you the story from Abby's perspective. I don't know if people would want that. I don't know if they would want that.
Well, that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch for season 3 to see how the numbers are. Like I said, the actress that plays Abby, I think she is a lot more likable than the actual Abby character is in the game. So I kind of feel like some people will want to see her story to some extent, but they really have to sell us on this idea about, because really this is a story at this point of two characters and asking the question, how far are they willing to go to get revenge? We already saw Ellie do some stuff in this particular season, this episode, and having some remorse for it. But clearly, with the next time her and Abby go toe to toe, it's not about remorse. It's about like killing people left and right. And that's why I'm curious to see how they're going to fit all that in season 3, whether or not it's going to be another season. But we have to wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, there's some crazy. I'm not giving anything away because that's one thing I always tell people. We're not trying to spoil anything. I'm not gonna. There are some interesting moments in Abby's story and certain characters that she interacts with, right? That can soften people up to her and warm people up to her. But then it comes full circle when she does interact with Ellie. When that does happen, then what do you do? And I still think a majority of people like, Ellie. It's like no one is even second guessing the fact that the star and the person that everyone's rooting for is Ellie. I don't think that ever it gets into people's minds of not to support. They're so I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. But that's my thought. I'd say premature thought that it's just going to focus more on what we saw at the end of that. It's going to focus of the game. It's going to focus a lot on Abby and her journey, and then just trying to convert the viewers to supporting her, to see her perspective of how she sees things and what she would have done. Because this is not a spoiler, but she does answer a serious question when they show a flashback with her and her father, and she does answer a serious question that many would have wondered if she would have been able to do something. Would she have done something different? And she does answer that, and she has a very good answer for it and reason for it. But hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in through all these weeks of The Last of Us, our coverage here. It's been great covering this show. I'm sure Josh would have enjoyed covering this last episode, but Chris Angel, Mind Freak, he needs to see magic and all that. And shout out to Chris Angel, got to meet him a few times, got his autograph. Really nice guy, from Long Island. He made it big. Shout out. But thanks again. Thanks for the likes, the subscribes. The channel's still growing. Of course, Coalition channel has grown. They're blown up. It's huge, right? Say huge. We all know this. But
Absolutely.
The terminal is still growing. We're still getting there. Right now we went from 0 to now 116 subs, which is fantastic. People just tuning in, and we cover on this channel Murderbot and, of course, Mobland. We're heading toward the season finale of that. Lawrence and I, that's going to be good. Then later on, Rich will be back because we plan on covering From when that comes back. We got a lot to say about that show. Oh, man. That show, that last season, Rich, remember we were mad. We were mad, and we didn't have anywhere to vent. And now we'll have all this time to just vent out, and hopefully people tune in for that, and also vent out their frustrations if they don't fix the story. Because there's some stuff with Tabitha, man. Oh, Tabitha, what? But anyway. Thanks again for everybody that's, again, liking, subscribing, following here. Also, all the stuff that we do over at the Coalition. We still have I Am Negan Dead City. That's going on. And we still have a few episodes there. And, of course, Rich, go ahead. Shout out your Powercast.
Yeah, we just finished up the season 4 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. We are going to be covering Power Force later this year, and a couple other little things here and there. So stay tuned if you want to see those types of shows. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. So again, everybody, thanks for tuning in, for following, for subscribing out there, and we'll see you next time on one of the. Well,
and one last thing, I definitely would encourage you to check out the Coalition Entertainment channel that our other colleague Dana runs, because she has a couple of things she's been reacting to, a lot of the upcoming movies and trailers and stuff like that,
and a lot of interviews. Dana does a ton of interviews with cast members. So if you're ever interested in just trying to look around, any good interviews out there for any of these newer shows, it's a good chance that she's interviewed somebody from one of those shows. All right. So yeah, definitely check that out. All right, everybody, we are out. Thanks again for all the support, and we'll see you next time we cover another show. All right. Later.